The other day, I watched a really interesting television show, actually kind of a documentary. It was about cooking, like one of my favorite pastimes or hobbies, I guess. And it was about a scientist who wanted to see if he could cook as well as a chef, as a trained, well-known chef. And this scientist, he was from London, and he was good with raw materials, organic materials, and his argument was cooking is nothing more than chemistry, and he could use scientific methods, he could use the techniques to produce food that tasted as good as the chef who had 30 years of cooking experience. And it was really a fascinating show, and I was interested on how well this actually works. And what they found was, as they cooked side by side, the chef using what he had learned through the experiences over the years of spending time in kitchens, honing his palate, honing flavor profiles, and those things, cooking side by side with the scientist who was basically just using techniques and trying to replicate the chemical transformations that food goes under while it's being cooked, and see whose food tasted the best. And what they found was, even though some fascinating things came out of what the scientist did, the chef's food tasted the best. And I was watching that, I was thinking about solution-focused therapy, and I was thinking about learning to be a psychotherapist, because a lot of times when people study solution-focused brief therapy, I think they kind of miss the point. Like, they think it's about the questions or the techniques, scaling and exception finding and the miracle question, so on and so on. But it's not. There's an art. There is a flow. There is a process to solution-focused questions that unfolds through the session, that the only way you can truly master this and get good at it is by spending time in sessions practicing your question asking ability. Because they're not just questions, they're questions that are directly connected to the hoped for future of the client in a way that leads towards lasting and meaningful change. And learning how to do that is actually tough. Just like learning how to be a chef that is a master of flavor profiles is tough. The only way to really be a chef, to learn to master flavor profiles, is to spend years in a kitchen honing your skills. This chef talked about how when he's cooking a steak, he's not just cooking it, he's listening to the sizzle, and it's got to have the right sizzle. And he's watching for the crust and caramelization because it's got to look right. And that informs him of how much butter to put in the pan, and all of these things that you could only learn from being in a kitchen and cooking your steak. And I think same thing happens in solution-focused conversations. There's so much that you could only learn from sitting in the session with clients, asking them these questions, helping them identify their preferred future and the pathway to creating lasting and meaningful change. So please try not to think of it as a technique, or all you have to do is learn the techniques, because there's a subtlety in the art, and that's where the magic of SFBT lies.